So, Pete, can you discuss how reported income affects Medicare premiums and why it might be essential to manage the income level strategically?
Yes. So the Medicare, when you go on Medicare Part B, that's a premium that you pay. So you're age 65, you're qualified to go on Medicare. Everyone has Part A, and that's just insurance that we have. But then there is Part B, which covers all the things that Part A doesn't cover, your doctor visits, your deductibles, certain things like that. And you have to pay out of pocket for that, or it's typically, if you're getting your Social Security check, it's deducted from the Social Security deposit prior to it being deposited. If you start to exceed the certain income levels, that premium you pay for Medicare Part B is going to be greater. And just off the top of my head, I think it's about $205,000 for married filing jointly. If you have income over 205, you're going to get an increase on your Medicare premium. And kind of like modified gross income we were talking about, or I've talked about in the past with Roth Roth limits. Same thing here is you have to not look at your taxable income, but this modified adjusted gross, where you're adding things back into your income to determine whether or not, this is going to be something that you owe. And that premium can be rather large. What's happening now is, going back a couple of years, IRS will determine whether or not you have too much income, and then you're going to have to pay that larger premium. And then so you kind of get stuck on a 2-year cycle once you're into that. So again, if you're going to do something a little bit extra, say, I want to buy a new car. I want to take a special trip. I'm going to get an extra chunk out of my IRA. Oh, I don't mind. I'm already in the 24% bracket. I can handle that. Oh, wait a minute. I just bumped up my Medicare, or doing a Roth conversion. That's something you want to consider. It doesn't mean you shouldn't do it necessarily, but you want to have your eyes wide open. And if you could just have done a little bit less and avoided it. So again, these are things that you want to understand. I think when you do your tax return, we run a report that shows you very nicely what bracket you're in, what it would take to go into the next bracket, how close you are to triggering higher Medicare premiums, at what point you're going to go from 0 to 15% on capital gains, or if you're getting close to being, going into the 20% capital gains rate. These are all the lines that you want to be aware of, whether or not you're close to crossing. In addition to that, you can take extra income, and if you're not being taxed to the maximum of Social Security, 85% of Social Security is the most that could be taxable income. But if you're not already at that level and then you start to add income, same thing. You're thinking, I'm in the 22% bracket. I take a little money out. I'll take a little, I'll pay that tax. Oh, guess what? You just made Social Security $10,000 more taxable. So you took the 20 out of there, 22% on that. But now here's $10,000 of income you weren't even being taxed on before. That's also being taxed. These are all the lines you want to cross. And that really plays into the Medicare question, Social Security. They're all kind of in that same camp. Oh, and I'll say one last thing on that. You can communicate to the IRS and let them know about, hey, you think I made too much money because you're looking at my last tax return, and now you're saying that I'm going to owe this higher premium on Medicare. In some cases, if there's a major life event, you retired and your income was a lot higher, and now it's nowhere near that, and there's no reason for you to be paying this higher premium for Medicare. They're just using the past history, which is totally different than the present reality. You can communicate that. It has become a little more stringent because they really are just going right off the last 2 tax returns. They're looking for a pattern, but that's a good example of one at the point of retirement. So sometimes be prepared for what can happen, but also be aware that there are ways to try to challenge something, as long as it's a reasonable challenge and it's a good faith argument that you're putting forth to the IRS. I don't think you want to put a bad faith argument in front of the IRS ever.
I don't know if that would go very well for anyone.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in to the video today. And if the conversation we held resonates with you, check us out at goodfinancial.com. Go to Contact Us, and we're happy to schedule a conversation with you to answer any questions you might have and help you in your financial plan.